Hey everyone. In today's video I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the goals that I've set for this year, how I've got on with those goals, what I've learned from having those goals as well, and what goals am I going to set for next year and share with you all, because I think it's kind of important as part of that journey. You know, set ourselves many targets, gives us something to kind of get up for, gives us some projects to kind of get into and gets us out and about, which is what photography is all about. So yeah, I guess let's dive into it. So the first one that I set myself for this year, one of 7, was create a personal project. So something that got me out and about and taking photos. I've said this before, if you follow my YouTube, if you follow my Instagram, woodlands wasn't my strength this year. I could never really take photos I was proud of in woodlands. So I decided to create a project this year where I was going to basically get to the point where I could maybe create a mini book on woodlands, not to share with people, just for myself that I can flip back on and improve. So that meant that I had to go to woods, I had to go scouting, I had to find new locations and get practicing basically. I think I've worked out, and I was looking through my Lightroom earlier, I think I've been to the woods 18 times this year, just in my local area. That's not excluding travelling as well. Quite a lot when you think about it. And reflecting back on some of the photos I took at the start of the year, especially around the bluebell season, versus now, I feel like my photography is a lot stronger now. Like, my compositions are better, there's a lot less noise in the photos as well. So I think having a project, I think has been really helpful just to see me grow, and especially do it in an area that I didn't feel particularly confident in as well, because I think that was the thing, it was the confidence factor. I'm also going to create a project for next year's goals. I think I'm probably going to do seascapes or vistas, but I'll talk more about 2024 later on in the video. The other one was learning a new Lightroom skill. So you usually use Photoshop or Lightroom or other editing softwares for that. As an amateur, you know, there's still a lot for me to learn. So I wanted to double down on some of the skills. Everybody kept talking about this magic S-curve. I was like, I don't really know what the S-curve means. So I went away and did some research on it, watched some YouTube videos, did a lot of reading on it and a lot of studying. And then I'm like, okay, now I know what that means. I know how to edit my photos and get the best curves and what each of those points mean, how to update the midtones versus highlights and the shadows. So that was a really good skill to learn. But I focus more on the masking aspect of things and getting good at how can I use a linear gradient to soften the sky, or how can I use a radial gradient to draw the viewer's eye to some of the images. They were really good skills to learn, and focus stacking. I think they're the 2 big ones that I've learned. There's lots of other skills throughout the year, but I think just pick a skill, something that you're not particularly good at or confident in Lightroom or your editor of choice, and just go for it. See what you learn and what you can improve on. I think that's just a really good bit of advice, and I think I'm going to do that every year, is just keep finding one thing that I don't feel particularly confident in and look to improve, especially when it comes to editing. Number 3 is, I think, review older images. You know, I've done photography now since 2013, so 10 years. And, you know, I've taken a lot of photos over that time. It's only the last sort of year and a half when I bought my mirrorless camera, I kind of focused on, let's get out of like the auto settings, let's start to look at what does aperture priority do, how does that work, how does how can I get into the semi manual world and then into the full manual aspects, with the goal being that I want to be able to feel comfortable with the manual settings on my camera. So reviewing the older images has allowed me to kind of look at, okay, that composition was actually really good, or that one could have improved if I moved a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left, or went a bit higher or a bit lower. And I think that's just been a really good exercise, and I think that complements the other one around your Lightroom skills as well, because I think as you improve your editing skills, you might go back and go, actually, it's a really nice photo, but I didn't really like my edit on that. I'm going to tinker around and play with that. So do that and give them a bit of a review as well. So I use the star system, other than 1 to 5. So 1s are like, yeah, it's okay, it's not the best, but it's one to learn from. 2s are quite similar in that. 3s are like, these are good, and more like a shortlisted one. And 4s are I really like that photo, I'll have it on my wall. And 5s are like my top of the range printed ones that I sell on my website. So that's how I use my grading. Use your own, but I just recommend just going through and doing a review and giving them a star rating. I think it's been quite an enjoyable exercise throughout the year. And I think once you do that and go back on it, when you start to add more photos in, you just get into the habit of reviewing them as you go. So over years you can look back and go, right, in 2023, these are all my 4-star, 5-star, 3-star photos I've taken. I think it's just a really nice thing to do. Number 4, which I got from a Nigel Danson video. He's my favourite landscape photographer. But one of his top tips was just slow down. We all rush to destinations, we go on holiday, we find like 4 or 5 places we want to go and photo shoot. We don't have much time to go and shoot in those locations, so it's kind of like snap, snap, quick go sort of thing. And I think this is where going back to having the project and going back to the same place multiple times for me this year allowed me to slow down, because, you know, I know there's 3 or 4 spots in the woods now that I like to go to. I know they look really good at different times of day, or when the lighting is particularly strong, or when the lighting isn't so good as well. And I think that's just allowed me to focus more on getting that right composition and getting the right settings as well, so that, you know, playing around with metering and just really understanding my gear better. So definitely slow down. Don't get your camera out as soon as you get to somewhere. Nigel says eat an apple. If you don't want to do that, just sit and watch for a little while. I just tend to sit and wander, or have a little wander around the area and find what composition I think would work best, because the scenes always do change over time. So I think slowing down just gives you that chance to go, oh, that could look quite good, that might work, or actually I think that will work better. So that was number 4. Number 5 is plan a few trips a year. Now, this doesn't have to be abroad, this doesn't have to be long trips. You know, this could be a trip that's 20 minutes down the road from you, or it could be a trip that's, you know, a sort of an hour away or further. I think I had obviously a few locations this year. I've had the privilege to go to back to Iceland, which I absolutely loved. Went to Madeira, been down into Cornwall, and a few other places, and that's been amazing. But I think most of my learnings have come from me driving 20 minutes to seafront and doing different sunrises, or playing around with some of the waves and trying to capture some of the stuff there, or play with some of the shutter speed settings to do some long exposures over the water, or walking through the woods. So I think I'd actually recommend more, if I was to do this again, would be to do more local stuff and plan more local trips to get better and be more confident with your camera gear. So then when you do go on the bigger trips, you don't have to worry about it. It becomes more natural to you. So that would be my thing, is plan a few more local trips next year and then go from there. Yeah, I think that's it on planning your trips. The other one is printing images. So number 6, print your images. I can't tell you how much of a game changer this was. This was also another bit of advice from Nigel. There's something, you see it on the screen, you look through it and you can go, yeah, this is the brightness, that's how it's going to be. Most people don't change their brightness on their monitor as well. So you're used to looking at it like that, or you'll see it on your phone, or you'll share it on Instagram. And yeah, the photos look amazing, but it's not until you actually have it in your hands that you go, wow, this is something I took. You know, I've got 2 up on my wall there, I've got some out there of ones I've taken. I love looking at these. I work in this room day in, day out, and it's just really nice to look up and go, I took that, I'm really proud of that. So print more of your photos. I think it's great. It doesn't have to be expensive. I use a local one in town. It's great as well, because I got really friendly with the staff in there, and I'm supporting a local business as well. So in return, I get some beautiful images, and I'm also kind of doing good. And I've got a little A4 binder of stuff that I'm building up now. Some of the photos I've taken this year. I'm kind of printing stuff off. I think it's so nice just to be able to look back on those and see, you know, how have I improved as well. I'm probably going to group these by year, but it's also nice to play around. Sometimes, like, I didn't know if this photo was going to work out well in black and white. I thought, you know what, I'm going to print it. It costs, I think it's like £2.50 for an A4 print. I want to give it a go. And also looking at the difference between gloss and matte paper and how that affects your image as well, and understanding that when you're taking the photos or when you're editing photos, absolute game changer. Honestly, if you do one thing, don't go and print them all and spend loads of money, but print a couple of your really good photos and see how that goes. I'm going to do a separate YouTube video on printing, because that's a whole different world of getting into around the right profiles, the right settings, how to use borders or not. I think I want to do a dedicated talk on that because I've learned quite a lot on that this year. So definitely a good one. Print your photos. Number 6 is a great one. Number 7, this might surprise a lot of people. Invest in your education, not your gear. I've got a long list of like lenses I want to buy, stuff like, you know, I want new gear. I would love a new tripod. The Benros look amazing. You know, I could spend thousands of pounds buying gear. But actually, I think I've probably grown more, not because of a new lens or because of, you know, I've got to have more megapixels. I've actually grown more as a photographer by watching YouTube videos, like ones like this for free. You know, going on there, people put some really great content out there, learning from them, getting inspiration from them, and then going out and applying those. So invest in your education over investing in more gear. Whatever camera you've got, whatever lens you've got will be absolutely brilliant for what you've got now. They always say the best camera is a camera you've got with you. And I think just keep going on that, and once you improve and your confidence grows or you feel like your gear is starting to let you down, then upgrade. But I think for especially beginners like myself and others, I think you don't need to have the most expensive gear, the best camera. I shot with a 20-400 for the last 16 months. That's the only lens I had. It cost me £900 for my that was the one I took, and I took it everywhere with me. And it's been great and took some of my best photos. I've now upgraded my lens to something else because I wanted to make it a little bit sharper on the edges for more of my landscape stuff, because I'm now printing to larger scales. But that's also because I wanted it. It wasn't a need. I could have lived with what I've got now. So yeah, going back to it, invest in your education over investing in new gear. Most things that you can buy, like tripods and bags, lenses, just as long as you're getting out there taking photos, it's a good camera. So that was it. That was my top 7. I hope you enjoyed my 7 goals for this year.